I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes.
All right, guys, welcome. Corax, how you doing tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad.
I remembered to hit the go live button this time so people can actually hear us talk.
Yeah.
And we have Mike that is supposed to be coming to join us. Hopefully he got the invite link. Mike, if you did not, or if you're having any issues, hit me with a DM on Twitter.
Tony tech support.
Yeah. I spent part of the past 2 days doing some live stream debugging with Streamlabs. Mm-hmm. And maybe we got to the bottom of it. Maybe we didn't. But tonight, hopefully with Restream, the software we're using, we won't have an issue. And I'm updating my ISP to the Google Fiber on Thursday this coming week.
Nice.
So that I already have a pretty good connection. I've got a 1 gig connection, but I don't think it's fiber. Or if it is,
bandwidth.
If it is, I'm still doubling up to the 2 gig on Google. So
yeah, I have the regular cable internet. I'm a little too far out for Google to reach me, or even AT&T fiber. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, they've been here in Austin for like 7-10 years, but it's a very slow process to make it out to every neighborhood. They started downtown, obviously high population density. And
also that fiber is really, because it has that brittle glass in it, it's really hard to put up. You have to make sure you get it up there and everything's run fine. And then it's kind of higher maintenance too, a bit.
They just gotta dig the streets to lay the fiber. It's a process.
Oh, so it's down on the ground, not up on the pole.
Yeah. In my neighborhood, they cut a thin trench in the street right by the curb. And then in every 2 houses has a box right out on the curb.
Oh, nice.
A buried box, a connection box. So you're only sharing your connection with 2 people, yourself and your neighbor. So
yeah, that should be a big.
Right now, who knows? It goes to some junction box that cars always run into, and takes everything down. The one I have. Let's see. We got Stinking Rocket in the house. Is he on your channel or mine? Oh, there he is. He's on my channel. All right. What's up, amigo? Saturday night, January 6th. Welcome back, guys. Also a little, let's let Corax share his channel name for people that are watching here on replay.
Yes. This Noisy Corax, that is my YouTube channel. I'm also on Twitter at Sunny Corax. That's
all right.
Pretty simple as it gets.
Mr. Rocket says we're having some lag issues. That's no good.
Pretty smooth on my end, so I don't know what's.
Also, guys, if you have questions or you want to talk about AMC debt, I'm having a live stream with May tomorrow night, same time, same bat channel.
Good.
Huh?
Should be good.
Yeah, she and I have been messaging back and forth on occasion, and I think I asked her maybe 2 months ago, we should do a debt live stream, and we're both busy, so getting the coordination of schedules down is tough. But we're finally going to make it happen. What's up, Tony S., Groundhog Eater? Good evening.
Today, this week is going to be the exciting week because the 9th is this week. That's the deadline in the Alan Jordan lawsuit. That's Tuesday on responses to him.
Tell us. I need to answer my wife's text here real quick, but catch us up real quick on all of the upcoming January lawsuit stuff? Because there are several. We got Alan Jordan.
Yep, that's the 9th. The one that just recently passed this last Wednesday was the DOS appeal on the Bed Bath & Beyond thing. He did not get his papers in on time for his brief before the court. So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. If the court is just going to be like, well, sorry, dude, you didn't get it in. So tough noogies. But that one, I don't know if it was really even going to be too particularly considered by the court, since the court had already decided that it was going to be decided on papers. There was going to be no hearing for the appeal. So that sounded to me like the court was not too.
What is the DOS appeal?
The DOS appeal is he's one of the former Bed Bath & Beyond shareholders who's trying to appeal the bankruptcy court decision on the finalization of the bankruptcy plan. His argument was a weird kind of argument. He's a pro se litigant, and he was trying to argue that the shares were property of the estate and that they would be subject to rollover. It was a really weird argument, and the court didn't like it. When he was down at the bankruptcy court, which would be the trial court, they had ruled that, none of this made any sense. They were not going to give him a stay pending appeal. And moreover, if he continued frivolous litigation before the bankruptcy court, he would be sanctioned.
Yeah, just at face value, that doesn't make sense to me, because shares are property of the shareholder. They're issued into the secondary market. The company doesn't own them. You own them. The shareholder owns them. Yeah. The only thing the company has possession of would be any unissued shares.
Yep. And so, that happened. And the judge also said that he'd recommend sanctions to the appellate court if he chose to appeal. He chose to appeal anyway. The initial filings were made by both parties. His brief for his appeal was due 3 days ago on the 3rd. It was not filed. So this may be just a dead matter anyway.
The other things that I saw going on with BBBY lawsuit wise is I'm seeing some rumblings about suing Mark Tritton.
I have not heard about that. That's
the old CEO. They want to go after him for doing a share buyback. And I posted it on Twitter today, the press release. He announced $1 billion worth back in 2020 of share buybacks and I think basically capital structure improvements to the company, refurbishing stores and stuff. Yeah. But he only had slightly over $1 billion in cash. So I'm just like questioning all of these people, including Mark Tritton. Why are you spending your cash on share buybacks when you have a working capital issue? You don't have profits and your business is declining. Like you should be holding onto that cash like a treasure.
Yeah. And a lot of the issues that they had was with their store, with their store layout, with some of their products they had. So there was definite need for capital injection into revitalizing the business.
Yeah, I don't blame the people that are mad at him for spending money on a share buyback. Like, who did it really benefit? The stock price did go up for a while after he announced that, but you're just dooming your company to fail if you blow on all your cash on share buybacks. When you're not making money, that's like a recipe for eventual disaster.
Yeah, and the only other BBYQ stuff that I've heard about is the whole trademark dispute thing going on between Cass and PP.
We'll get to that in a second. I've got some stuff queued up here. Jorge, we'll get to the AMC questions in just a second too. Let's recap what else lawsuit wise with Bed Bath & Beyond. We got Mr. Fonzie wanted to sue, and he wrote a letter, and I guess the attorneys wrote him back a letter saying, "Hey, buddy, cease and desist with this nonsense." Did you see that?
I haven't seen it. The only one I saw was, I can't remember who it was on Twitter, saying that if my attempts to get lawsuits for shareholders are so wrong that we'd have no standing because the shares don't exist, why would someone be willing to give me say that they'd entertain it for a $500,000 retainer. It's like, well, I'd
I
be
saw
willing
that
to
one
do
too.
anything
I
for
saw
a
that one too.
5,000,
Right. I mean,
$500,000 up front.
ultimately, that lawyer did not end up taking the case because he didn't have 500K.
Yeah.
But Fonzie was the lawyer that got up on stage and talked at PP's event.
Yeah.
And he wrote a letter. He actually wrote the letter before the event, and they told him, "You better
is that
stop."
the one where he was going after the estate.
Yeah.
The man. Oh, okay. I have.
Yeah, they wrote him a letter before the event, so he already knew what the letter said. Like, stop with the nonsense, or you're going to get in trouble. He still got on stage and did his little speech. So, whatever. I'm just reporting on status of the meme
He needs
madness.
to be careful with what he's doing, considering you said he's a lawyer. I assume that he has a license before the bar. He hasn't done anything yet, but like he better be a little careful about what he's doing.
And then Mr. Pulte gave Michael $10,000 to flesh out any legal strategy, which I think is interesting. And who knows what they'll come up with that money, what they plan to do. Did you hear about that?
No, I had not. Like the stuff that I've heard is kind of either I've probably heard about it and forgot about it because it was in passing, or it's the hot button thing that's like right at everyone's fingertips. Now I really don't pay much attention to them all that much.
Yeah. The other lawsuit stuff. You're keeping track of the AMC lawsuit against the Texan. Is that right? What's the latest on that?
Currently, right now, we are waiting a reply back from the plaintiff after Adam Aaron filed his motion to dismiss and his motion for where he was going to try and get the restraining order again.
So Adam Aaron filed a restraining order, and then they had a court date, and Adam Aaron didn't show up. He filed what do they call it, a non-suit?
Yeah, he basically withdrew it.
He withdrew the complaint, and then he waited a couple months, and then he refiled the complaint, right, along with like 50 pages of emails.
Well, what happened first was Mr. Willis decided he was going to sue him on 3 charges of wrongful imprisonment, which was mental anguish, and abusive process.
Okay.
And so Adam Aaron responded with a motion to dismiss, followed up, I think 2 or 3 days later with a reapplication for the restraining order.
It was curious to me, and Mr. Willis's, is it Mr. Willis? Is that his last name? In his original complaint against Adam Aaron, he didn't include the 50 pages of harassment emails, but Adam Aaron's attorney did.
Yeah.
And boy,
that's
is that
how I knew. That's how I knew right away.
Smoking reading.
Yeah. That's how I knew right away that this lawsuit was kind of a sham. It's like, okay, so you're saying all these things, and you say these emails weren't that bad. Well, where's the emails?
So what's the date that we need to watch on that, or what date are you watching?
If I recall correctly, I can double check for sure on Pacer, but I want to say it's the end of the month is when we have to, because he asked for an extension. Basically, the original deadline was sometime late December. And he applied and said, "Hey, I'm a pro se litigant. I've got a job and some other things. Can I, get an extension so I have time to respond to these 2 motions that came at me?" And the court's like, "Yeah, sure. That's totally fine. We understand." And so deadline to file the response is the 26th for both motions, it looks like.
I know the gentleman is very upset, and I'm just reporting on this out of curiosity. But the emails that he sends and the tweets that he barrages Adam Aaron with on a daily basis, I can see why Adam might want to file a restraining order, because it is just outright harassment and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
nasty stuff.
It's pretty over the top, like not adult behavior. But I understand the guy's upset, but you still need to act like an adult.
Yeah. So there's that. The
MULN, we got MULN West Christian lawsuits. Anything in the hopper with that?
That reminds me that I should probably check in on that, because there's the one that's the Clear Street Markets one. as far as I know so far, the complaint's been sent, the summons have been sent. We have not heard a response back to the claims and the allegation yet. So nothing really new going on there.
And the other news, speaking of West Christian and people suing lenders for or filing lawsuits about naked shorts, Jeremy Frommer posted a letter on Friday saying that they could not find any evidence of malfeasance in trading of their shares, and they basically apologized to Lend Partners, one of their lenders, who is also thrown under the bus, maybe rightly or wrongly, I don't know, don't really care, but Lend Partners gets thrown under the bus a lot for either GTII or finger or both. So that was just interesting to me to notice that the first lawsuit that went through regarding Lend Partners got dismissed.
Yeah. The other one, I don't know if you wanted, how much detail you wanted to go in that. I know I did 2 videos covering it. There's the MULN versus GEM Global Yields on that MULN lawsuit that's being handled by Mark Bazile. I have my thoughts, but I know you've talked to Mark about some of that stuff, so I don't know if he's got a game plan on that.
I'm trying to think of any other lawsuit stuff going on that I know of right now. You posted I saw a couple of snippets of apparently a space call that happened. What was it, on Thursday or Friday?
It was Thursday, I want to say. Yeah, Thursday the 4th.
A bunch of no voters advocating for violent protest at AMC.
Yeah. It got even not. I'm currently clipping it together right now, but yeah, that's one of the projects I'm working on. There was more than just violent protest. Apparently, some of it was about going after Gary Gensler, which I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah, I support anybody's right to protest whatever you'd like, but when you're advocating violence, like if I see the man, what was his words? Do you remember?
It was
basically, if I see him, I'm going to end up in jail that day.
Yeah, pretty much. That was to the effect. They wanted with Gary Gensler was we need to go find where he is and grab him by the throat until and it was just like, and to be fair, I will say none of this came from Ethan, though he didn't stop it. Like, I will go out there and say that, Ethan was not the mouthpiece for this one. It was one of the other guests there, or I think the host. But like, it's just that sort of thing is going to get you nowhere.
Yeah, I support all of their efforts to do whatever legal steps they need to take, including peaceful protests. But advocating and spinning these people up into violence is not really the right answer.
Let me see if there's anything here on my list. I haven't gotten the chance to look into it, but there was a lawsuit that I was handed by one of my followers, Puzzled Raccoon, Pass and Quill versus Humble, which basically is accusing the board of pumping up their own stocks, lying about what it was able to do. Humble was one of the Hindenburg short reports, I think way back in like 2021 or something like that.
I faintly remember that ticker.
Yeah. And basically it was like a social media / payment system platform. And so some of the former shareholders are suing the company and its officers in the C-suite.
Grievous. Yeah. Are you going to do a video on that one?
I when I get the chance to do it, yeah, definitely, because they're on they're having their little back and forth on the motion to dismiss, and it seems like they have a solid case. So once I get the time, I might.
All right, I look forward to that one. Grievous McDougal says, has anyone ever been held accountable from Robinhood for saying AMC filed for bankruptcy? Not to my knowledge.
No.
There's been a lot of messaging from the media and from brokers like Robinhood, like that particular instance, that I haven't seen anybody held accountable for. Mike says he's in the stream. Mike, if you can go to your DMs and click on that link that I sent you, you should be able to join us here on the panel.
Yes.
All you need, if you don't have a phone with a camera and a mic, all you need is an iPhone or iPad. Anything will work. Just click on that link, and it should bring you right into this stream here. And you'll be in the back room till I bring you on stage.
You'd be up here at the big boys table.
I wanted Mike to give, his. I've listened to him on some space calls, and he's got a pretty good handle of the finances. So I wanted to give people a chance to hear from somebody else besides me. So hopefully he can figure it out through that link that I sent him. And my video on the AMC Q4 estimate, that I'll put that out tomorrow. I have all the material prepared, but because the price was dropping this week, I didn't think it was really appropriate for me to drop my video. Because, Q4 is, in my opinion, a bit of a mess, and, people don't want bad news on top of bad news. We're already dealing with the price going down. So I'll put it out Sunday. George Pringle, what's up? Happy New Year, friend. George says AMC must be close to $1 billion in cash raised. I think they are, George. I think that they should be just over $1 billion in cash minus whatever they spent or lost in Q4. George says this is close to their market cap. I have the screen right now. Weeble's saying the AMC market cap is 1.03 billion, but they don't have. I think they don't have the correct float. I'm calculating the float if we count the debt for equity shares, which I don't know if we can.
Because they sort of exist, don't exist kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're in the float yet or not, but let's just say they are. 253 million shares is what I calculate the float at. So I think, what is 253 million times $5? It's a higher market cap than we're at right now. But either way, my opinion, and we'll talk more about this later in this live stream. My opinion, not financial advice. Don't use this to buy, sell, or hold. All this nonsense we got to say because people are hypercritical of us just talking about a stock. I think that the AMC price is undervalued at the moment. So I was adding last week. In fact, I doubled my position last week. That doesn't mean that the price still can't go down Monday or all next week. I'm not throwing every bit of cash that I have in my account into AMC. I'm just carefully, selectively, when it feels right, adding to my position. My current personal thesis is that we're a little bit undervalued, but Q4 and Q1 are going to be a struggle for the company. And we'll talk more about that in the video.
I just remembered another lawsuit that I'm sort of covering that was brought to my attention by Bronco about the Permian Basin Trust lawsuit.
MMTLp?
No, Permian Basin Trust, a company that actually has oil.
Okay. I don't know about that one, so tell us.
So it's one of those these royalty trusts that basically it's a REIT. It's an oil company that's basically a REIT. You own the oil wells. They produce the oil and sell the oil. You get a dividend based on the oil they sell. Simple concept.
Mm-hmm.
So Bronco is in the oil and gas industry. He used to work with a few operators owning an actual oil company as far as pumping it. Then they sold it off, and he moved over to doing more of the analytics side of it, making, looking at test data, running analysis on companies' production, seeing if there's, detecting for fraud and things like that. And he had been holding Permian Basin Trust, going over their numbers, looking over things like that, and noticed that there were some discrepancies in their accounting numbers. So he had made a Substack post on that, on his Substack Energy Crisis. And lo and behold, a few days late after he posted that, or about a week or so, the company, through its trust, the trust that owns the property on behalf of the shareholders, filed a lawsuit against one of its management partners or the CEO or something for basically siphoning off assets towards another oil company to build up that property that he was also part of the management group of. They estimated about $15 million of disgorge of assets taken off the company's balance sheet. From what I heard from Bronco, he estimates it is higher, at least double that, if not triple.
Wow.
So that's currently going on in federal court to try and recover those funds for shareholders, which means depending on how that lawsuit goes out, you may see a backdated dividend payment to make up for all those, lost funds back to shareholders or back into the company. So he was talking with me on the 29th about that company and about some of the things going on with it. So I'll be probably looking at that casually. I don't know how well I'd be able to cover it because I'm not so great about, oil things, but it'll definitely be interesting to follow.
All right, let's move on from lawsuit into some fun stuff, some juicy gossip stuff.
Well, it's technically lawsuit stuff potentially.
Yeah, but I want to talk about what's going on with BBBYQ, PP Seeds, and Kaj Malej. Are you aware of any of those names?
Yes, I'm aware of the situation.
Can I play a little clip for you?
Sure, go right ahead.
Let me share a screen. I'm going to play 2 clips for you guys just to catch you up if you aren't following all this. First one is from the Pulte meetup back in mid-December, a BBBYQ celebration where 250 people, I don't know how many, got together to meet with Bill Pulte. And I think, just my opinion, that some of them expected there was going to be a secret announcement at that meeting, which there was not. But it was some fellowship, breaking bread, having a beer with fellow investors. So I got no problem with anybody that wanted to spend their money. What was it, $500 a head to meet Bill Pulte?
Yeah, I believe it was $500 per person.
All right, let's look at this clip. And then we're going to look at a clip from Kai's today. This clip, I think, is where it went all wrong. So what we have here is all the crowd waiting in an airplane hangar for their meetup. Pulte, PP Seeds, and a couple of other people arriving by helicopter. And what I want you to notice, if you haven't seen this before, is Kai's is going to come from the left after they get out of the helicopter and attempt to shake PP's hand. PP is a YouTuber, guys, that covers Bed Bath & Beyond. If you're wondering who the hell is this that we're talking about. They have a very big community that still talk about the stock every day. So we just got a couple more seconds here, and then we'll move into the Kai's clip. There's Mr. Pulte getting out of the chopper. There's PP, and I don't know who that is. Is that Michael and Travis?
Possibly.
Here comes Kai's with the handshake. Oh, denied. Did you see that? Corax?
Yeah.
So Kai's is mad at PP right now. One more time. And for whatever reason, a couple of months ago, Kai's trademarked the show name of PP's show. Huh?
PP gave money to go do it.
Yeah, PP gave him $250 to go trademark the show name. Here comes Kai's in for the handshake and all right. So that happened. That was not very cool. But Kai's has the trademark for whatever reason to PP's show. Like I don't know how that all went down or why.
He applied for it.
Yeah, but why? And why would PP allow him to do that?
That's a great question. There was a live stream that Amy, that trading girl, posted where, see, now this is where I get confused, because the story goes that PP asked him to do it, but that live stream seems to imply that Cass preemptively did it, said, I don't want any of the bad actors trying to, trademark your name and stuff like that. So I went and did that for you. And
I remember the day that happened, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is probably not going to end well, because Kai's is kind of all over the map.
Yeah, that's what Amy said too. And everyone, the normal standard shill, you're just a bad influencer, blah, 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 blah. And then lo and behold.
Now, today we got this. Kai's and PP have had some bad blood going back and forth on social media, and the Bed Bath & Beyond crowd is all up in a fuss. Some supporting Kai, some supporting PP, most of them saying Kai's hand over the trademark. And apparently on PP's most recent live stream, he got a couple super chats and read them out loud that Kai's did not like. So let's hear what he has to say.
All right, guys, this is Kai's Malaysia.
Can y'all hear this?
This video as a message, direct message.
If y'all can't hear it, let me know, and I'll.
Let me talk to you man to man here, right? So when you have a YouTube channel, all right, and you're playing with dildos and spreading the F word every time, all right, keep your mouth shut. How are you gonna keep your mouth shut? With the chat that you're getting, like the tips you're getting from some idiots on your channel, all right? And then you bring in my wife. Don't fuck with me, man. Don't fuck with me, all right? This is gonna be, we only talk about real shit when you are fucked up. Don't bring my wife, because if she sees that video, you're fucked. If she sees the clip that I'm gonna put after this video, trust me, PP, you're fucked. Okay? Don't come and apologize after you read the chat. What they gave you $5, and then you read the chat, and then
apparently
you say
Morant's
it doesn't work
him
that way. Everything on your channel, even the chats, you are legally in charge of that, and you can be sued. Don't fuck with me again. Don't fuck with my wife. This is, consider that warning. This is the first warning. You do it twice. You do it twice, and take it from Kais Malej. You do it second time. Read your chats, okay, and block your chats from spreading fucking words about my wife. And don't say it. If somebody, I know you cannot control what people write, but
first he said you're going to be responsible. Now he said you're going to be liable for it. Now you can't control.
This is a warning. Take it serious from me.
Maui and Joy. Morant's rants with the 5. Cal should get ALS, only representation for his behaviors. I think his wife will become a PP show hot wife. And everyone will get to turn on the doorknob. All right, let's try to keep Kaz and Kaz's family, things like that, out of any form of discussion.
Everyone will get a turn on the doorknob. What the fuck does that even mean?
They'll get a turn to have special times.
What the fuck, man? All right, first of all, PP, you should not have read that out loud. You should not have read that out loud. And second of all, I thought Morant's rant said he was turning over a new leaf and going to be nice to everybody.
That's a good fucking joke.
That lasted about 7 days.
It lasted 0 days. Hey, those posters at work that says 0 days since our last accident? 0 days since Morant's last asshole.
Oh man, that's a good one. We should track that. How many days since Morant's said something insulting to somebody? So that's all I got for you on the. I want to talk more about Morant's Corax, because I know you've been having some words with him. But that's now you guys are caught up on the Bed Bath & Beyond drama. Kai's is starting his own show. It's called I Love the Stock. I wish him success. I saw some photos that he's getting his equipment set up. Looks like he has the appropriate equipment to do a live show. PP is entertaining in his own way too, even though I don't agree with a lot of their DD, but that's just my own personal opinion. That's irrelevant. People watch shows sometimes just for entertainment. So I hope the boys figure it out. And I do wish that everybody could be civil, be adult, and maybe one day we'll get to the bottom of the story. Was it that missed handshake on the helicopter pad, or is there more to the story? Oh,
There's more.
The other more that I know, Mr. Pulte has announced a meetup this summer in Atlanta, I think.
Bingo.
And Kais is very much a Pulte supporter now. And PP said that he doesn't plan on going to the Atlanta meetup unless something happens with Bed Bath & Beyond, which I can respect. I can totally respect that. It's not like it's a must-attend event, right? Why Kais went unhinged because PP is not going, that I don't know. So is there more to the story? I'm curious, maybe like many of you are. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, that's my theory. I think it can put up to it by Pulte.
Jersey Recycler says that whole channel still believes Bed Bath & Beyond will come back to life.
Yeah,
they do. And I don't agree with that, but I also don't taunt them or interfere with them because, it's not over till it's over, but it would be completely different than any other bankruptcy in existence of history if it comes back at this point.
The shares are canceled.
Shares are canceled. There were more liabilities than assets. And I think that just my opinion, they're reading into the documents with a bias that supports their narrative instead of with an unbiased perspective. But I do wish them luck. Bad Ape says, what happened to the BBBY positions? Yes, they were all canceled by the brokers, canceled in the bankruptcy process. But for some reason, they think that they're going to come back and be given some new shares. All of the assets of the company have been sold off. Bye Bye Baby got bought by someone. Bed Bath & Beyond got bought by Overstock.
Now they're called.
And it is what it is.
Yep.
RA says similarities to CVNA. They went from $4 to $62 in less than 12 months after restructuring debt. If you have, Hertz also came out of bankruptcy, right? If you are able to restructure and come back, you can come back. But Bed Bath & Beyond closed down.
I think it's similar to AMC. AMC restructuring is similar to Carbon.
I couldn't understand you.
The last part, they have around $5 million that's similar to AMC. I think that's what you're trying to compare.
Oh, okay. They have around, if AMC goes into Chapter 11, we're all going to lose our money. Anybody that's holding, more than likely. If that's your question. Like, I think we should be avoiding talking about bankruptcy. And I think that the management is doing everything that they can to avoid bankruptcy. We will all be wiped out if AMC goes into bankruptcy. There's more debt than there are assets. The only real assets AMC has is cash, and they have $4.8 billion in debt. So they're going to be wiped out. We will be wiped out.
Yeah, I think that very much covers the whole situation.
I wish them luck, gentlemen. Kais, try and be civil. I think it's not. I know you're upset, Kais, but I don't know that this drama in the end is going to bring you the type of followers that you want. Let's talk about since Morant sent that caustic super chat to PP. Do you want to catch us up on? You've done a couple of videos on him recently. Tell us about the video topics real quick.
Well, he had done this video heading into the new year about how he thought, Pulte was a snake and everything. And well, I don't disagree with that. The way that he had structured his video made it seem like, because he focused a lot on why aren't you promoting GameStop? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you, you're focused on AMC, but you're not talking about GameStop. And it sounded to me very much like he'd be okay with all the scummy stuff Pulte was doing if only he was promoting GameStop instead of AMC. And I did not particularly care about that very much for that, because I thought, that sounds pretty scummy there. And so I called him out on it. And, I have a tone of address sometimes when I feel someone to be very contemptible, and he didn't take too kindly to that. And that's fine. And so he decided to try and sick his followers on me. That always backfires. If you're going to be a YouTuber, do not try and sick your followers on people. It always ends up with the person you're sicking them on getting more likes, more views, and more subs. That's how this works. So don't try it.
Now, are you just doing this for engagement?
Oh, no. Like, look, I do video subjects on people that I want to do it on. Like he also went on the second video reply and was like, he only talks about me. It's like, dude, I had 150 videos last year and only one of them was about you. So
last year, only one video out of 150 was about Marantz.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're clearly not targeting him for engagement.
Yeah, no. And second of all, if I needed engagement, I come on here and often enough with Tony, and Tony has like double the subs that Marantz has. If I was looking for engagement, I'd be in Tony's DM box every day. Hey, when do you want to do a live stream? Hey, when do you want to do a live stream? Every time. Tony's the one that comes to me usually about these sorts of things. So like, I don't get, he's very big about when he can't address the subject matter of the video that's addressing him, he makes up a bunch of bullshit to talk about instead because he can't argue.
Let's talk about that bullshit for a second.
Yeah.
Now, he and his followers have accused you of pumping AMC and being an AMC bag holder. Can you clear the air for a minute? What are your thoughts on AMC?
My thoughts on AMC.
Are you long AMC? Are you a bag holder?
I haven't had any part of AMC since closing that arbitrage spread.
And you were basically short AMC in the arbitrage play.
Technically net neutral, but yeah, long.
I mean, you were short AMC, but long APE, right?
Yeah. So the common shares I was short, through puts. So like that's the part that I was found so funny. And when I pointed that out to him, he quietly stopped mentioning that whole I'm an AMC pumper thing. He didn't ever apologize for saying that.
Oh no, he would never apologize for anything. He's accused me.
Wrong.
He's accused me of pumping Highcroft, which clearly he's never watched one video I've made of Highcroft because I've said don't buy it in every single one of those videos. He's accused me of pumping MULN, which every video I've said don't fucking buy it. And he accused me of pumping Bed Bath & Beyond, which also in every video I said don't fucking buy it. So the guy just lies without remorse and never apologizes.
And it was really funny because all of his followers are like, "Oh yeah, he's such a great debater. You should go on his stream and debate him." And I'm like, "No, he made it clear in these series of videos that he sucks at debating. He made it
can't debate if you don't even have a basic grasp on the facts. Like he doesn't even understand if you like AMC or not.
You can't debate if I tell you point blank in my second video what my issue was in a sentence, in a single sentence. I told you this is my issue, and you still danced around it. Like CSI is a better.
Your issue was at the end of his video. He kind of said, "Pulte, how come you're not buying GameStop? How come you don't talk about that?" Right? That was your issue.
Yep, that was the entirety of the issue.
Yeah.
And like I said, CSI does a better job of identifying what my arguments are than Marantz does. That's kind of saying something. Not to get, like CSI, like I have nothing against him right now. We seem pretty cool, but like he at least understands that this is what Noisy's arguing about. This is the points I have to address. Marantz doesn't.
Yeah. He doesn't want to talk about the topic because he has no real answer to it.
Yeah.
So instead he does the diversion and the ad hominem attacks, that's his go-to. Like if he doesn't have anything to say against your DD, he'll attack you personally.
Yeah.
Like I've had to weather all sorts of bullshit from him. I have a fake wife. I'm a paid actor, just all sorts of just complete bullshit.
his problem with me and why he doesn't do that so much anymore is he finds out that, you know, he's used to shoving at people who don't shove back. I shove back and then I kick him in the balls, and he doesn't like that.
I just block and ignore people like that because they're not even worth the time.
I have fun because every time I tag him, it clearly gets under his skin. So I'll probably tag him again after this because it fucks with him.
Mike said, check the DMs. Let me check, Mike. I have the screen closed here. He said I sent it to Corax. Let me see if I.
Oh, so that's what that message
is.
Like.
Yeah. Sorry. Hang on, Mike. Let me send it to you again. Sorry about that. I sent it to Corax 3 times. So hopefully, Mike, yeah, you have the DM now, my friend. We're going to switch over talking about AMC for a second while Mike is coming on board. Let's answer a couple of these AMC questions. RA is asking about the debt restructuring. I guess I misunderstood your question in terms of restructuring the long-term debt, Mr. RA. We will go into that in depth tomorrow with May. She has, I think, a lot more to bring to the table experience-wise than I do on that. So I'm curious to hear her thoughts. But I do think that AMC, the most likely path is that they will restructure the 2026 debt and push it out. So tune in tomorrow and we'll answer every question you have on that. All right, let's bring Mike in. Mike, how you doing, friend?
Oh, pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Thank you for joining in. I'm going to give you the mic here in just a second, but let me knock out a couple of other questions in the chat. Jersey Recycler says AMC should sell off their stake in Highcroft to free up some capital. Their stake in Highcroft, Jersey, has been beaten down in value by the cratering of the Highcroft stock price. But Highcroft has told us that they have a plan that's going to take several years to execute, and they will be updating us on that middle of this year.
Aren't some of those warrants too? So it's really hard to really deal with those, right?
Well, yeah, they have shares and they have warrants. But if Highcroft in their feasibility study tells us later this year that they're ready to start mining, they just need to build a milling plant. Maybe in a couple years, the company can make some money and turn a profit. But what I don't know, and what I'm really waiting to find out on Highcroft, is does the feasibility study say green light, go ahead? And if it does, how much is a milling plant going to cost? So those are the unknowns. And my concern with Highcroft right now is that they've already said they need to restructure the balance sheet. Their lenders want a clean balance sheet. So they're looking at debt for equity swaps. That's one thing. If you're holding shares, you should be aware of. And if they do additional dilution to raise money to build a milling plant, that's another concern I have. So I'm just on the sidelines with Highcroft, but there's a chance in several years that AMC could get their money back. Other than that, it's just wait and see. And all the people that are saying Adam Aaron screwed us with Highcroft, well, it was never put out there as like a get rich tomorrow plan. Adam clearly said 5 to 7 year investment. What he meant was Highcroft has communicated to us all along that they're not mining. If you read the 10Qs, that they're not mining. They need to drill, they need to explore, they need to do a new feasibility study, and then we will know. So we're almost there, guys. Sometime this year, we'll know what's next with Highcroft.
The one thing, Tony, that would be great about Highcroft too, that I would love to know is to get someone who knows junior miners or who's a geologist to actually comment on what their drill results mean, how bullish they actually are, and you know, if they got to build a milling plant, is this something that Highcroft would do themselves, or would there be like this investor that would come in and take a bunch of shares and like a New Gold or a bigger miner, right?
All great questions. So some of my format is going to change into 2024. I'm going to do like a crypto night. I'd like to do a mining live stream maybe once every 2 weeks. And I've reached out, Mike, to a lot of experts in the industry to ask those very questions. And unfortunately, most of them are not willing to talk about Hycroft because it's not on their radar, which is disappointing, but I'm not giving up. And
yeah, you got to find someone eccentric. Like I got lucky and found Bronco, who's an oil and gas guy. That's usually my tip off on that sort of thing. But you just got to sometimes.
I heard Bronco talking in a space call. That's seems like a pretty smart guy in that industry.
You just got to kind of mill around YouTube and unfortunately get lucky.
Yeah, I'm not giving up. I will resort to the YouTubers that are covering mining, but I was going outside, like to geologists and stuff. And I've only gotten no's so far. So I haven't given up. And the other thing that I plan to do for my own education, and I'll share that with you guys, the progress of my own learning more about mining, is for junior mining companies, how does Hycroft rank? Like, there's other mines that are projects that aren't actively mining yet, right? How are all of those doing? How are they evaluated? And I don't see a lot of people doing comparisons. So I kind of want to dive into that in the next few months.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up too is because I'm assuming, and like I said, I'm definitely not an expert in junior miners, that junior miners generally don't have $1 billion in the bank to build milling plants and stuff like that. So I would assume if their results are as good as they say they are, someone's eventually going to take notice if the gold and silver prices are good enough. And they'll be like, okay, we want to invest. This looks really promising. We can make a lot of money here, right? And
do you have any idea what a milling plant costs?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm assuming it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, my research I did about a year ago is somewhere in the ballpark of $500 million to $1 billion. That depends on how fancy your milling plant is, though. So I have no idea what Hycroft's going to tell us.
Yeah, so I would severely doubt that they're going to dilute to raise that much money. It would be basically impossible. There would have to be some sort of outside investment to move it forward, and they would have to like their drilling results, basically.
Or maybe, like some people are saying, sell the company to someone who has the funds to do it, right?
Looking for something to, sorry to butt in. If you're looking for something to compare it to, ticker NG is, I think, a Canadian or an Alaskan one that has at least some following by what it looks like from some sort of research reports and stuff like that, that maybe you could get some sort of comparison going between those. I know I had briefly followed it when gold had that huge run up and it was just running on pure sentiment. And so I had some puts against it and then got out a little bit there, but I was just checking back in on it. Maybe that's something you could give it a look-see and see.
Okay. NG.
Yeah, ticker NG. Nova Gold Resources.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that.
The only thing I know that's kind of bullish or positive about the purchase of Hycroft was like Sprott was involved, and he's a pretty well-known gold bug. So I'm assuming he's not always right, but if there's some backing from him as well, he's kind of knows his stuff at least, anyways. Right?
That was the most bullish thing that I could say about it. If Sprott is involved, it must have some chance, but we'll find out later this year, guys. So stay tuned. Anya says, I had to face reality. There are other stocks out there that actually move up. Clark says, Morantz is skewed in his thinking. Pam, what's going on? What's the new drama now? Most of the drama is in the Bed Bath & Beyond community, although, and we just covered that, so scroll back in the video, Pam, but apparently Morantz and Corax are having a little bit of drama right now. Thank you for joining in, Pam. Catching up on chat here, and then we're going to let Mike have the mic for a minute.
That's what you should do. You should make a logo that's Mike the Mic, and just have your mouth and a big old, like one of those old style microphones, like from the 30s with the wires all around it and everything.
Jersey Recycler also dropped some tickers in the chat for mining stocks for us to check out. It's not something I have a ton of experience in, mining stocks, but although I have spent a lot of time getting to know Hycroft, which is why I don't own it at the moment. Mike, welcome again. Guys, Mike, what's your Twitter handle, Mike?
It's Mike VOGR.
Mike VOGR. Give him a follow on Twitter. I've heard him speaking in some Twitter space calls. Do you go on the no voter space calls from time to time too?
Yeah, I have gone on those space calls before. I try to stay away from them because you just get beat in the face with nonsense a lot of the time. But I kind of like going onto those spaces with varying opinions because it keeps me sharp and it lets me know what the bearish talking points are. And then that kind of helps with my research to see, okay, is there a point here or is there kind of a bunch of nonsense? Because one thing that I found is a lot of the time, and this happens in the media too, either people are ignorant or they're being intentionally obtuse about certain topics. Like they won't bring it up. They'll change the topic. They'll try to shift it to a different thing. So I kind of like to know what the heck I'm talking about. So I find those kinds of spaces are
I do the same thing, and that must be why your opinion resonated with me. So I heard Mike on a call the other day. He and I have not really talked that much, but I sent him a little DM saying, good job explaining everything. Like I basically, Mike would have said exactly what you said. So let's give you the floor for a minute to give us your current thesis on where AMC's at and what you think about the next, say, 12 to 24 months.
Okay, so I'm not very good at projecting what the future box office is going to be. So I defer to other people. So there's guys out there like Stock Retail, and I bring him up because I've gone through some of his videos from like a year ago where he's projected what the domestic box office is going to be quarter by quarter, and he's been bang on within $50 million. So he does really big deep dives. And another kind of industry analyst is I believe it's Grower or Gower Analytics, and they do projections of the box office. So they've done the projection for 2024 already, but they're already saying that they have to update it because they feel the schedule is going to get filled in. But based on those numbers, I've gone through AMC's 2023 10Qs year to date, and I've kind of figured out all their gross and their net margins, what their expenses are, how much they're paying off in interest. And I find a lot of the bearish takes are almost unreasonable. So I think there's a bearish case for AMC, say, not surviving or being at the proper value right now. But that bearish case is if the domestic box office sticks around about a billion or less tickets sold for the next about 5 to 10 years. So the 3 years pre-pandemic, the tickets sold, and I use tickets sold because ticket prices changes. So that's kind of like I find like the steady item you can look at.
Okay.
Pre-pandemic, tickets sold averaged about 1.25 billion, right? And so the tickets sold this year were about 840 million. So when you're looking at the box office, the cash amount was 20% below 2019 or thereabouts, but the actual ticket sold amount was only about in the 60 to 65% range, and that coincides with the movie releases as well too. They're only 60 to 65% of the movie releases, and that's partly due to the ticket prices going up. So when I'm looking at these future box office forecasts, AMC, based on the 2023 year to date, is break even somewhere at about a 10.3 to 10.6 billion domestic box office, and that's that's less than a billion tickets sold. So the only way AMC goes bankrupt is if they're selling less than a billion tickets for the foreseeable future. So I guess if that's your bearish take, that's fine, but that's significantly lower than where it's historically been. And I know there's streaming and everything else out there, but movies have been around for a long time, and streaming was around in 2017 and 2019 as well. I have my own theories about streaming. That's more speculation. So as far as I can see, especially when you look at some of the 2025 forecasts that guys like Stock Retail have put out, we're getting well over a billion tickets sold. AMC, based on their margins to date, which are significantly better than 2019, is very profitable to the tune of, if they get to about 1.1 billion tickets sold, like they're looking at about $400 million in earnings. And based on that number alone, if you're looking at valuation for theater companies in the past, that they've traded at a price to earnings ratio between about 16 to 30, like, you're looking at prices between like $28 to $40 on 1.1 billion tickets sold, which is still like 85% of the pre-pandemic ticket sales. So like when guys are kind of talking about how this company is going bankrupt or they'll never be profitable, it just makes zero sense to me. And that's why the price where it stands right now, it seems to be hundreds of percent, in my opinion, undervalued compared to where the theater industry has traded historically, if you're looking at future earnings.
So I think we're all, both you, myself, and stock retail are all in agreement on that. Like if we can get to the 10.5, 11 billion domestic box office, AMC will likely throw off some profits, right? And even when I look through their board meeting minutes that were in the discovery from the legal case, they also say that themselves, like they're fine over 11 billion. So really the question we all need to keep an eye on is box office going to recover to 11 billion? And that's not really in AMC's hands, that's in Hollywood's hands, right?
Yeah, and based on the analytic, like the analyst predictions, by like 2025, analysts have been predicting the box office for a long time. And I'm not talking about like Wall Street. I'm talking about industry analysts, people who follow movies, Hollywood analysts, and and they're pretty close to right. And then you look at stock retail's numbers, who's been like within like 2 or 3% predictions of the domestic box office. When you start getting into 2025, like you're looking at somewhere around like 11 billion, and you're looking at growth beyond there. So there's 589 releases today, and pre-pandemic there was about 900, right? So say you add 200 more releases, right? And these can be small movies. These can be $10 million movies. That's another $2 billion to the box office. And like when COVID shut things down, it didn't just shut movie theaters down; it decimated the movie production industry.
Right.
So you had your films like Top Gun, and you had your films like Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise was sitting there talking about budgets ballooning because they had to go through all these COVID expenses to like $300 million, $350 million. A lot of Disney movies were up in the high $200 million ranges. Well, the small films that cost $10 million, well, they can't suddenly spend 30 or 40 to produce these films that are going to make maybe 15 or 20 million bucks, right? So I'm pretty sure that scripts were not greenlit and they were not making anything. So I think really what's missing is that 30 to 40% of the box office, small movies, which amounts to billions of dollars when you get it, right? And once you get there, you're like, so if AMC recovers based on current ticket sales, say they recovered to pre-pandemic ticket sales of 1.25 billion, that's the average, that's a $13.2 billion box office.
Yeah.
Is like significantly profitable at that level. And if you want to be a little bit more bearish, you're getting to 1.2, 1.15 billion, they're still significantly profitable. But it just, their fixed expenses need to get covered. Their rent is higher. They got to cover interest expense, and they got to cover their CapEx, right? And most of their CapEx, as far as I can tell, is fixed as well. So I graphed, one of the things I did when I was doing my analysis, I graphed the increase in CapEx versus the increase in AMC's revenue on a quarterly basis. Like it's like for every $1 billion of revenue that AMC gets, their CapEx only goes up about like $35 million.
Yep.
So, once they cover those fixed expenses, their net profit margin increases significantly, but they got to get past that 10.3 to 10.6, right?
AMC is built on large size, and they will thrive when the movie industry is putting out a lot of movies, and they will struggle when they won't because they're so large, right? With the
yeah, and people point at Cinemark, right? And I've gone through Cinemark's balance sheet too because I've heard that argument. And Cinemark, because their fixed expense is much lower, they lose less money at a lower box office, and they're also break even somewhere around 9 to 9.5 billion. So that's why you're seeing them start to be profitable now at current box offices, right?
Yeah, I see a lot of people, Mike, talking about, they don't understand why Cinemark price is higher, why valuations are higher, why market cap is higher. Guys, Cinemark is half the size of AMC. They have a lot less fixed costs, and it's easier for them to be profitable on a smaller box office. And the other thing that, Mike, I don't know if you know, Cinemark has, last time I checked, over 20% short interest compared to AMC 8%. If you're betting on the movie industry, you ought to be maybe adding a little bit of Cinemark in your portfolio also. I think.
Well, not just because it's better, but it definitely helps to diversify even within the industry to keep your exposure loose and nimble.
See the difference with Cinemark, though, economies of scale thing. Once AMC gets profitable, then they get significantly more profitable than Cinemark quickly, right? But until they reach that threshold, because once their expenses are paid off, they have so many more screens. So for me, I'm more bullish on AMC than I am on Cinemark, because I don't see the box office leveling off at, say, $10 billion for the next 10 years. And like the thing that drives me nuts is the Wall Street analysts have been so wrong on AMC's earnings and domestic box office projections and revenues. It's frustrating almost, because it's like, why is this stock price valued at where at a number that's so low, when a mouth breather like me working on some spreadsheets and other people in the community can see what's happening in the next 3 to 5 years with the company.
You'd be surprised how often that happens with a bunch of different companies, because I've done that same thing too and gone, what am I just magical, or is it?
Yeah, if we're right, Mike, that the box office is going to continue to recover, I mean, to me, this is an easy win in 2024 buying AMC. I don't know where the bottom is going to be on the price, but if we can make it through this year and things start recovering 2025, 2026, then the whole landscape changes for AMC and the price that it can go to. But unfortunately, as you know, Mike, not everybody has a timeline of waiting 2 or 3 years. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I mean, just reading social media, there's a lot of impatient people that don't understand what's going on right now.
But the other thing that's frustrating too, like I know you talk about Cinemark's short interest versus AMC short interest, and there's so yeah, I won't go into too much because it's not really provable. But the thing is, look at AMC's price drop, and its short interest has stayed exactly the same, and it's apparently supposed to be 90% retail held. Look at AMC's volume since September. Like, the float's changed hands 10 times.
Yeah.
And 2.65 billion volume since September, and apparently it's 90% retail held. It's really odd. And like I've typically been a coach potato investor for most of my time in the market. It picks stocks here and there, but I've really gotten into AMC, especially as the price has been dropping, and looking at the fundamental valuation of it, because just something seems so weird here, and the media is so bearish, and like people are so bearish, and you have all these space calls with people who are ignoring like information that's right in front of their face. It's just like, what the heck's going on here with this stock? It seems really odd.
I think that, Mike, there's probably a couple possible scenarios for that. One, just day trading shorts, right? They're in and out the same day, so the reported short interest never changes. And they capitalize on that bad news and the current negative sentiment to drive the price down and scare people out of the play. Maybe they're right. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out in the next year or two if AMC survives or not. But the other thing that could be happening, and we talk about this a lot in the Discord, is are the debt holders participating in some of this shorting to leverage getting shares at the best possible price for themselves, like we saw happen with Antara, because they know if they can drive the price down, soak up some shares, and then just sit back and wait, that the price will go up. And they're trying to legally manipulate the system to their favor. What do you think about that theory?
Yeah, that could be true. I agree with you, but just the volume's so high. It's like 10 times the float has changed hands in about 4 months. Like I've never seen anything like that on any other stock.
That implies to me a lot of day trading going on.
Yeah, because if you're one of these meme stocks, you got a lot of these traders who are willing to, like Tony said, day trade it all the time because they know there's a lot of liquidity. There's a lot of slushing around, and swings in the price. So they're going to take advantage of it on the upside and on the downside, and then whatever way.
But at a certain point, and I don't know where that point is, it's going to hit a bottom where any rational institutional investor says this price is too low. We need to stop shorting it because we're going to get fucked. This company's not going bankrupt.
That was actually a question I had for May, because I was in some space calls with her, and she's like she's like a real good person to be able to talk to. Like, she knows what the fuck she's talking about. Oh, excuse my language.
I just said the F word too. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you missed the part where I was hurling them too. So
it's a late night chat. We drink and we curse.
Yeah, fair enough. But I had a couple of questions for her if you want to bring them up, because in her thing she was talking about the bonds and she, the idea I got from her was she thought AMC was kind of undervalued now too, and she's starting to kind of build a bit of a position in it. But like, just in her experience, is wondering, like, so what's going to cause the institutions to mark it up, you know? And is it going to be, there's an announcement that the 2026 debt got refinanced? Is there like one big quarter of earnings that kind of just makes it obvious that AMC's profitable and the box office is back? Is it like a trailing 12 months of earnings that they need to see before they mark it up? So I'd be really curious, based on her experience, what she thinks is going to be the catalyst to start that markup. Because like for me right now, I'm just averaging in at these prices, and I probably will be until that stock is marked up significantly, because I think it's so cheap right now to buy it.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here earlier, and I certainly don't want to disclose my position to the point where I'm influencing people to buy, because I still see a lot of risk in this stock. I don't know where the bottom is, but I doubled my position this week because I like the price that it's at right now. Could it go lower? Yeah. Do I have more cash to buy if it goes lower? Yes. My only fear right now, Mike, is more dilution.
Yeah. And well, that's the other thing. Like, that's why it seems like such a safe play with me, because dilution is just a number, right? So if you calculate price to earnings and say AMC dilutes all their shares and their float's $550 million, well, you know, the numbers I just gave you, that 30 to 60 number, all of a sudden it's 15 to 30. You're still hundreds of percent from the price that you are right now. And that's at a box office that's only recovered to like 85% of pre-pandemic levels. It seems like such an easy trade to me that I feel like I'm missing something. Like, it just seems so odd.
Corax, what do you think about this? Damrick says the spread is not enough to attract scalpers on AMC.
It depends on how leveraged you are, and for average like retail day traders, I'm sure the spread isn't that much, but like it really depends on who's working the spread.
I think about it more in terms of volatility. Like, if you can have an 8 or 10% swing in a day, that's plenty for a day trader.
Catch it at the bottom, wait for retail to pump it up, dump it on them, move on.
Yeah, I can tell you we're watching it every day, every second. I'm not trying to day trade it, but I talk to people that are, and there's definitely people day trading the volatility in a day.
I'm sure all these meme stocks.
There's plenty enough volatility for day traders to make money.
I would counter with that. I would say Tesla's probably day traded more than AMC.
Oh, well, without a doubt.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're
without a doubt, but
volume is nowhere near what AMC's volume is in terms of percentage of the float traded. Like,
but if you're trying to short it, for example, just wait for it to run up, short it, and push it back down. We've got to have that news, like you were saying, Mike. That the news, my dream news would be Adam Aaron says we're done with dilution for the next 6 or 12
That would
months.
definitely help the price, I think, the most.
Yeah, I would love to see an announcement like that.
I think where a lot of the tinfoil comes from, and you know, I kind of believe some of it. I think a lot of where it comes from is the media and the amount of people out there that are just so negative on the stock and being obtuse of the facts. How the media gets like some of the stories in the media are so wrong. It's just like, do these analysts like even look at a balance sheet or a 10Q? Like,
a lot of them are narrative driven.
Sense, eh? Oh, sorry, what was that, Noisy?
A lot of them are narrative driven, like on all stocks, whether it be AMC or whatever. Sure, a good amount of them is based on fundamentals, but like Tesla, a lot of the time before it became popular, it was all narrative driven. So you got
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it too.
So Mike, tomorrow I'm going to drop my Q4 earnings estimate video, much like Stock Retail does his. I want to hear though your take on Q4 and Q1. Like, I think there's a wild variation of different theories about what Q4 results are going to be. Some of them are way too optimistic. Some are way too pessimistic. What are your thoughts on how Q4 is going to be, just in a general sense?
I'll even give you by numbers. So I've talked to Stock Retail about Q4. He has an estimate out on it. His number was about earnings of about negative 130 million. He's been righter than me before, but I'm a little bit less optimistic than that. So I kind of had a base earnings at the box office they have now at about negative 217. But I also don't have, apparently AMC got outsized share of the Taylor Swift domestic box office.
Yep.
Have distribution from the worldwide box office from Swift and from Beyonce. And then they have like the full nationwide rollout of the retail popcorn. So I think bottom line, that adds about 40 to 60 million. So I'm kind of in the range of about negative 160 to negative 180 right now for Q4. I think strike headwinds are real. I think Stock Retail put this point out. About $500 million of domestic box office got pushed out of Q4, and Dune, Ghostbusters, Craven. I think we probably could have had a real chance of being earnings positive 3 quarters in a row if it wasn't for the strike headwinds. And Q1, I just don't know what the domestic box office is going to be, so I won't comment on it. But a lot of movies have gotten pushed out of Q1 and Q2. I think we start seeing real positive improvement in Q3, and it looks like Q4 will probably be one of the best quarters AMC's had since pre-pandemic. But I don't want to give out numbers because, like I said, until I know the domestic box office, I don't like to.
So industry analysts are saying 2024 is possibly likely, although they always couch it with things could change. But right now they're saying it's going to be less domestic box office in 2023. Obviously, we hope that is wrong, but that's what they're saying right now.
I think that's the case. I think, and I don't know how big the Twitter sentiment is, because I know there's a lot of people that, which sometimes maybe they get fundamental information wrong, but they are pushing the support of the company. I think that helps. I don't know how widespread that is. I do think with the strike, based on the movies that got pushed out, I think we, at best, I'm thinking 2024 will be even overall with 2023 in terms of domestic box office. I think the earnings will be better though, because I think the margins have improved and continue to improve. But I think 2025, you probably, by Q2, Q3 of 2025, Q3 at the latest, you're trailing 12 months earnings positive, and 2025 on its own is significantly earnings positive as far as I can tell from the box office projections.
Yeah, my own personal opinion, if you're in this play and you plan to stay in it, like you should be recalibrating your expectations to how's 2025 going to look, because unless something comes up that we don't know about, 2024 is probably going to be a yawner, right? I think you just said, and I agree with you, at best case will equal 2023.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of shillery going on with that. Look, the box office happens. They're gonna ignore the fact that there was a writer's strike and a bunch of stuff got pushed out. But like if you know the market continues to fail to mark up AMC, you know it's basically a year of buying, in my opinion. If at these prices, so I'll average down the position that I have significantly, and I think that's a selfishly good thing for me, but I think it'll frustrate a lot of people, and there'll be another year of nonsense on Twitter.
Another year of people saying, "Why isn't the price moving?"
Could be. Hopefully it gets marked up beforehand. I'd be happy.
Yeah,
but if it doesn't, I'm happy to buy at these prices.
I think there's a good chance for a significant price improvement. I mean, we were just at between 11 and 12 bucks. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see that again in the next 6 months, but you'd need some good news probably to make it move.
Yeah, that was the one thing too. And again, this is probably more a discussion you can have with May, but She was talking about the debt for equity swaps the AMC was doing. She was saying they're odd that they were doing them in little parcels like that, and it's been so quiet from the CEO Adam front and from the ANC front. I kind of have a feeling behind closed doors they're working at refinancing the 2026 debt now. The one thing that May had brought up was like it's usually not in the company's best interest to wait to the last minute because of the leverage. So I kind of have the feeling with those deals that they're making, they're working out interest rates, they're seeing how much interest payments are going to be. I kind of got a feeling we're going to see an announcement on that within 6 months, but that's just speculation.
I agree with you 100%. A company typically wants to refinance that about 18 months before it comes due. So I'm guessing by middle of this year, between now and middle of this year, we'll hear something on that if they're successful in finding somebody to take down a new debt structure.
But all speculation, who knows where the price is going to go, but that could be a catalyst. But
the other question, the other answer to your question, why are they doing it in small batches? We'll talk about that tomorrow in my Q4 earnings video. I have another theory for you.
I'd love to hear it, Tony.
But for everybody who's wondering, why did he do 2 at the market offerings? Why did he, raise $350 million twice? I just want to reiterate what we've been saying here for a long time. The company had a working capital deficit on the balance sheet. It was as bad as $1 billion. And they've trimmed it up now, by my count, to roughly only a $200 million deficit, which is, I'd still like to see it positive working capital. That's current assets minus current liabilities. But you don't ever hear the no voters talking about the balance sheet or the working capital issue, the fact that the company did not have enough cash to pay its bills. And that is what will drive a company into bankruptcy, not having enough cash. So even though it's frustrating, it makes people angry, I get it. I totally get it. But the company is taking the steps they think they need to take to have enough liquidity to avoid bankruptcy. And Q4 being a little weak and Q1 being a little weak, there's going to be some cash burn these quarters, and you don't want to go into that only having $400 million on your balance sheet.
Well, especially when you got people projecting a possible, we don't know what yet, but I mean, they're projecting rate cuts next year. That's a possible sign of a recession. So you want to keep nimble in case things get worse from here, not better.
Yeah, you want to plan for the worst case. And that is the most frustrating thing for me, Mike, is all these people that never talk about the financials, but they will say the company's doing fine. I don't understand why they're diluting, why they're trying to raise cash. They're not doing fine if you look at the balance sheet.
And I think I get the cash raises now because of the writer's strike in 2024. I know some people think there's going to be more at the market equity offerings. I kind of disagree on that. I think they have enough cash.
I think they do now. I think they do.
So unless I think you get a couple quarters in Q4 that severely underperform, again, speculation, I don't see that. Well, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up too. And I forgot about it, and it was AMC's free cash flow, and kind of where they were pre-pandemic, right? So if you look at their free cash flow pre-pandemic, it's pretty minimal. I think it's like $70 million one year and $10 million another, and this was 2017 and 2019. But the thing that people failed to bring up is they were going through like a real big expansion at the time, so they had significant capex. Upgrading theaters and doing all the stuff they had to do, putting in recliners, rebranding everything. There was guidance in 2019 that AMC gave out, and they said they were basically done this. So their capex over those 3 years was pretty close to $2 billion. And the guidance Adam Aaron gave out was, the annual capex from here on out, from pandemic hit, but from 2020 out, it's going to be somewhere around $300 million. So their free cash flow, if they were at a normal capex from 2017 to 2019, without operational improvements and shutting down underperforming theaters, was somewhere around like $340 million a year. And that's something that people kind of fail to realize too. They had their roll-up plan. They were given about $100 million out in dividends. They had a 20-cent quarterly dividend. And then they're going to start paying down debt. So, they had a plan to pay down half that debt they had probably in about 5 to 7 years. That would just recycle earnings or closing theaters. So now they're just kind of getting back to that. And the FCF that they have is going to be, I think, quite significant once the box office returns. And they should be able to handle whatever debt gets pushed out without much of a problem, assuming, like I said, the box office goes to even like 85 to 90% of pre-pandemic levels for the next little while.
I don't think people realize, I saw a few people commenting on it in the chat, but I don't know that everybody knows that AMC is actively closing theaters and reducing their CapEx. And I'll put that up on the screen here because I track it every quarter when they report it. From 2019, they had 1,001 theaters. They've dropped that as of last quarter down to 904. And they're continuing to close outdated and underperforming locations. So every time they do that, that is improving the CapEx. That's improving, it's decreasing their rent and a bunch of other things that they got to pay for, utilities, insurance, staff, and improving the profitability of the remaining theaters.
And that's one of the really you want me to go?
Go ahead. I maybe misspoke. It doesn't improve the profitability of the remaining theaters, but it improves the profitability of the enterprise as you jettison the dead wood.
But that's like one things you can look at without having to balance sheet operating on how the margin for AMC, right? So they had $5 billion box office, and they made a small profit of $0.8 million. So if you look at AMC post expansion 2017, there was not more that level that were profitable. So just a quick easy way to look evidence of it.
Are you moving around, Mike? Because you're roboting a little bit.
I noticed that when you had the EP video up that there was a bit of a feedback loop thing.
There might be an echo because I have the audio from the screen on, so my bad.
Is this better?
Yeah,
you're better now.
I was pacing a bit there, yeah.
So yeah, I think what we're saying is they continue to close underperforming locations. The enterprise in general improves, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And like a lot of people said, well, why did they buy ArcLight and all this kind of stuff? Like they got those things for a steal, and those are like some of the top performing theaters in the US. They're making so much money with them. He was pretty smart in what he did pick up versus what he closed down.
And maybe that's a topic for another day. I've been, putting little hints out on Twitter about AMC's strategic strategy, strategic plan, strategery. Their plan back in 2016 to 2018 was a roll up where they acquire a bunch of competitors and become the big kid on the block. But the cost of doing that is taking on debt, right? And when something happens like COVID and you've got a leveraged up strategy, you get screwed really quick. So they were not anticipating COVID. They had a plan to become the dominant player, and they got hosed by COVID. And now they're in a fight for your life because you have so much debt. And that was not anticipated. That's what happens when you do a roll up. You're counting on everything to go right. And if it doesn't, you get fucked.
Yeah, it happened when they were leveraged at the most. Like it was the worst possible time for it to happen.
So their plan was box office stay at 11 billion or slightly grow, and then start paying off the debt as they get those efficiencies of size. And that didn't happen. They got rug pulled. But I see a lot of people saying Adam Aaron loaded up the company with debt to bankrupt them. That was never the plan. The plan was to do a roll up, and you can Google what a roll up strategy is and learn all about it. But they got rug pulled by COVID.
Yeah. And the truth is the company at its new size has never had a normal year.
Nope.
You've never seen what AMC's earnings are at a $12 billion domestic box office or 1.2 billion tickets sold box office.
So we all bought in 2021 on a squeeze play
Yes.
of a very distressed company, which was very over leveraged and had very little revenue. And if you decided to hold all the way through that, it's important to know the financials, that the company had executed a roll up, taken on a lot of debt on purpose, and that the revenue was not there because of COVID. And this whole argument that he's trying to bankrupt the company is just totally so off the wall to me, because people, A, don't know what a roll up is, and B, never bothered to look back what the company was trying to do in 2016 to 2018. And that's fair to me if you didn't bother to go understand all that because you were just in it for a squeeze play. But it is kind of like for all retail investors, if you buy a squeeze play, a company that's being attacked because of their fundamentals, and you end up holding it for a long time, you better understand those fundamentals. And we still have people that are like putting their heads in the sand, not wanting to look at the balance sheet. And they just want to blame the management. I don't get it, Mike. Help me out.
You know, like just to put my tinfoil on, some of the people who are very negative are very smart people. You can hear the way they talk, and it's intentional, in my opinion. That's tinfoil. Can't prove any of it, but I think it's dumb to think that there isn't big money on Twitter and people who are short on Twitter trying to sway sentiment. And I think it's to think that maybe they don't have a short AMC positions and they're trying to sway sentiment on Twitter. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
Bad Ape, is that Steven? Steven, do you have a burner account? Bad Ape says, Mike, when do you think insiders will sell next? Which quarter?
Well, if they do, they'll probably announce it 6 months in advance, like Adam Aaron did when he sold in the first place. Like, he announced it so far ahead of time. If you don't like what insiders sell, you had plenty of opportunity to sell before he did. So that's my response to that one.
Yeah, I've gone back to my old playbook that if insiders are selling, we should pay attention, because I made it excuses to myself of them selling back in 2021, and in hindsight, obviously that was a mistake. But
the one thing that did happen, though, Tony, which to be fair is they forego salary for stock for equity once COVID hit. The management team, someone, I think his name's Defiant on Twitter, kind of went through.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine. But I mean,
retail definitely saved them.
You know what I'm saying? If the insiders are selling, they're probably thinking this price is reaching its maximum, and I'm not going to discount that in the future. That's all I'm saying. And I do that with other companies. If I see insiders selling, I look in my position and decide if I should lighten up a little bit. So I'm not going to make excuses for AMC if there's massive selling. Yeah, I'm talking about massive selling, right?
Yeah. I think with AMC specifically, though, it was announced 6 months ahead of time, and Adam Aaron had no idea the price was going to be 6 months from then.
That was his second sell, right? I'm talking about the one like in June of 2021 where they all unloaded.
Oh yeah. I think
that's the one I'm talking about. We should have been paying more attention to that. The one where he
when everyone runs for the gates.
Yeah, I think that was a learning moment for me. Like, don't discount that shit.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. Looking back, when it was trading at $70 to take a lot more off the table than I did, probably would have been good. I would have a whole lot more to buy right now, fundamentally, right? But hindsight's always 2020.
Well, but still make sure to take that hindsight, because that's how you learn next time for in the future.
Right, that's a learning experience.
They say a lot in football, you learn nothing from a win, but you learn everything from a loss. Occasionally you have to take these failures and go, what can I do better next time?
Yep. And that's what I encourage everybody is, instead of looking for other people to blame, look to yourself. What did you do? What instincts did you ignore that you can change going forward in any other play and make yourself a better trader? Because ultimately the accountability comes down to each individual. But Mike, to answer Bad Ape's question, Bad Ape says, yes, Tony, you got me. That is Steven on a burner account. I knew it from the questions that this guy was asking in the chat. What's up, Steven? We have daily discussions about when the insiders are going to sell. That's why I figured it was Steven. Steven thinks that they want to sell soon and, just to pad their bank accounts. I think, just my opinion, that the insiders are going to be patient enough to wait till 2025 or 2026 when the recovery is in play. But whatever happens, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that what they do will tell us something. Is that fair?
I think, don't they get stock in January as part of their agreement, and they'll probably sell some off for taxes?
They will sell some off for taxes.
Next month or two, you'll probably see the stories.
I'm not worried about what they sell for taxes. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure.
So Mike, what was your answer? You said you don't know when they're going to sell.
Yeah, like I think if they're getting shares as part of their compensation plan, I would assume we'd see some insider selling news, to pay whatever taxes they got to pay. But outside of that, I'm just waiting for the insider buys right now.
So I know Steven's theory, which is different than mine, is that there will be some run up soon because the insiders want to sell. So that's one theory. I have a different theory that they're willing to be patient, and that the fundamentals might take a year to improve, and that they can probably survive on their whatever they've sold in the past year or two. They can wait another year, but we'll find out. We'll all find out together. All right, let's talk reverse split for a second. That is another question that comes up daily in the Discord. And I see it on Twitter a lot. Corax and Mike, do you think, with the price being at 517, that the board is thinking in any way about doing another reverse split?
Why? I mean, so long as they stay above listing requirements, I don't think 5 is a particularly dangerous position, like dollar amount to be at. And if you don't think that you're going to be selling any more stock, that's pretty fine. If you do plan on doing another equity raise, maybe that's a little troubling, but I don't see any reason why you'd have a reverse split anytime soon.
How about you, Mike?
Like if they dropped the stock below $100, it would have the same market cap as when COVID had all the doors shut down and they were filling out bankruptcy.
Wait, you said if they dropped the stock below $100?
No, sorry, below $1, like where they start talking about reverse split again and listing requirements. Like their market cap would be lower than the pandemic when they were drafting up bankruptcy paperwork in case the equity offerings didn't work. And like if there's a long institution that wants to get in and they're not buying then, like I don't know, the whole world's going crazy. So I don't see a reverse split happening again.
So I have a couple of random thoughts about that. As I understand it, on the NYSE, under $5 is considered a penny stock, which makes it more difficult for institutions to hold. So, and that's just one random thought bouncing around in my brain. And the other thought is, I think that they're done with dilution. So there shouldn't be any company generated, I hope, negative price movement. If AMC announces another $350 million dilution, that's going to drive the price down. But I think that they're done with that. That's just my guess. And that we can see some organic price movement up from here. So I also do not think that there will be a reverse split, but I've been wrong about some things before. So
it's hard to see what's in the future, but last I checked, AMC is not MULN. You won't be seeing like 3 reverse splits in the next 8 months.
They've got $1 billion of cash on the balance sheet right now. I just don't think that they need to reverse split to raise more money. I think they're probably okay. Even if 2024 is flat compared to 2023, there is almost no chance that they're going to burn through $1 billion. Would you agree, Mike?
Yeah. So
there's almost no chance they'll burn through more than several hundred million.
I'm just looking through my numbers. For them to burn about $1 billion in earnings, the domestic box office would have to be less than $7 billion.
Yeah, I just don't see
So,
that happening. So.
Yeah.
Like give it like maybe an example of what kind of a bear case you're looking at, like how bad that is, like compared to maybe like recessions we've had or something like that. Is it really so far out of the window to be looking at 7, or is, you know?
Well, even like so I'll talk about recession. So the domestic box office is typically recession proof. Like 6 out of the 8 last recessions, the domestic box office has gone up. So that's one thing. 7 billion would be like you're talking about, like, I don't know, 1985 levels of domestic box office. That's about 664,000. That would be a complete collapse of the domestic box office.
Right.
7 billion.
It would be 1985, not inflation adjusted. Just like
yeah.
Okay.
I suppose you could have that bearish case, but it seems like a pretty similar.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, like when we're looking at that drop to 7 billion, like what's something we can compare it to and see if that's even a reasonable number that could happen.
You need to have COVID 2024 to get box office numbers that bad.
Yeah, I think the only, like, the bear case for AMC that it goes bankrupt eventually over time is one, you have like, you basically have a worldwide event that shuts everything down again, or number 2, you have a domestic box office that basically maybe grows another 5 to 8% and stays the same for the next 10 years. And both of those seem overly bearish to me, and I think any reasonable person would find that unrealistic.
Now, Mike, you seem like a pretty reasonable guy, having heard you on the space calls. I read your tweets and chatting with you tonight. Thanks for coming in. Let's just do a bear case analysis for a second, because I do all of these analysis every day.
Well, you should be.
Right. You should be. You should not be looking through rose-colored glasses like everything's always going to be great. Whether you're buying a car, a house, a business, or stock, you should be always looking at what's my best case, what's my worst case. So you have a plan for everything, right? Is that reasonable?
100%.
That's how I do my investing. Mike, have you thought about what happens if box office never recovers to 11 billion? Let's just say we stay flat at 9 or 9.5. What do you think AMC would do? Is my very specific question.
So if the domestic box office never goes over about 9 or 9.5 billion, you're talking about, it's about 900 million tickets sold tops. I think the first thing they do is they sell off Odeon. The European theaters underperform the domestic. I think they sell off European locations, so that makes them more efficient. And then I think I would have to rerun the numbers then, but I think they would be profitable at a much lower domestic box office if they did that.
Corax, any thoughts?
No, well, I maybe would have thoughts if I was more in depth in the play like you are about AMC. So I don't think of anything, though it does make sense to spin off the European stuff because.
So again, I'll talk about this more tomorrow on my video. There is so much good info that you can learn by looking at the plaintiff's discovery documents, which includes a year's worth of board meeting minutes back in 2021. And guys, if you think that this company is not working to avoid bankruptcy, go read those 400, 500, 600 pages. Everything is there. They've been working hard to avoid bankruptcy since 2020. And all of the evidence is right there in the board meeting minutes. Every board meeting, they sit there and they talk about how the fuck do we not go bankrupt? And if box office doesn't recover, how do we not go bankrupt? There's no talk about let's go bankrupt to help our short friends. Not one bit of talk about that. Every slide in the deck is talking about avoiding bankruptcy. And Mike, to your point, selling Odeon and a couple of other things are what they call sacred cows. but they are willing to do things like make changes to the stubs program, either get rid of it or increase prices or reduce benefits, sell Odeon. There's a lot of things that they've been thinking about for years that they may have to do if things never recover. I only bring that up because I don't want you guys to think that this company is just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, not having any plan. They've had a plan since 2020. And I'll throw up some of those slides on my video tomorrow. Almost every single fucking thing that they said they were going to do to like look at new revenue streams or cut costs back in 2020, 2021, they have executed on. Renegotiating rents, asking for better rents, looking at new revenue streams. The list goes on and on. And that's not me defending AMC. I'm just reading a fucking document. I'm like, wow, they were talking about all of this 2 years ago, and goddamn if they didn't do it.
Well, I think I like saying it a lot, but I think Tony and Mike would agree that are usually when it comes to understanding these things that we know that we kind of expertise in, our only superpower is usually that we read. We do a lot of reading.
Now, other people read those documents, Corax, and they say this company always planned to fuck over shareholders. Now, that's one interpretation if you don't understand corporate finance. And I would counter that by saying they are fighting tooth and nail to avoid bankruptcy. And it's up to you to understand the ramifications of what that means to your position. It's really that simple.
Yeah. And even short of kind of going to something like Odeon, say you're in that bearish case, like I know some people complain about it, but I still find going to the movies is one of the cheapest activities you can do. You know, I can go on a Tuesday with the old lady and get the popcorn and the pop and the drink. You know, you're sitting there for about 2 hours for less than $40 on a cheap night. The other simple thing, like say they're only selling 850 million tickets, you know, you add $1 to the ticket prices. There's almost $1 billion in domestic box office increase by adding $1. I think there's a lot of other small things that they can do to kind of boost up those numbers before you'd have to kind of go to something like Odeon to kind of get them in the range of being profitable or buy more runway. Say something else happens with Hollywood strikes or something. But I just, like I said, these cases are so bearish. I think that you're looking for some kind of worldwide event or you're looking for a collapse of movie going in general. I think there's specific issues with streaming that I have theories on. You know, like none of these streamers are profitable. I think you're going to see a consolidation of streaming, and I think you're going to see over the next 5 years a lot more movies go to the domestic box office just so some of these streamers can stay profitable, because now everyone's adding ad tiers. Streaming's getting more and more expensive. It's getting more like cable. So I have bullish theses that go outside of just.
I've always said that about streaming. That eventually it'll be the new cable because you get all these competitors in there, and suddenly it starts looking a lot like cable, and people be like, "Where was all the money savings?" Well, y'all ran to it, and everyone went to fill that.
Now I'm paying more, and I got ads. What the hell is this shit?
so my crazy theory about streaming is basically you get three big actors. You get Netflix, you get Amazon, and you get Apple, and they basically become a blockbuster / network TV hybrid. And you know, you're getting charged $30 or $40 a month, so you get all three for your $150, or you get one or two of them, and you go from there. Like there's so much data out there. Even when they were doing day and date back in 2022, like the pirating went up like 65%. Like all of a sudden, everyone was going back on the Pirate Bay. I think there's been experiments with going direct to stream. I think there's been experiments with shortened theatrical windows. But I think over the next 5 to 7 years, you start seeing that start to reverse because it doesn't seem to be working. Like only Netflix is the only streamer that can make money. So I think you see a change in that industry that kind of goes to a little bit longer theatrical windows. Then you get your VOD. That's when the pirating starts, but you kind of get whatever money you can out of the box office, and then then you kind of buy your streamer, and your streamers are your digital blockbuster, and they make some of their shows and they have some ads and everything else like that. That's kind of a speculation theory, but I think that's where it goes. That's why I'm more bullish on the theaters as well too. But But that's all get.
Let's talk about Tech We Love's comment that I have on the screen. He says AMC doesn't need to get to 11 billion to be profitable. We saw AMC get the highest revenue of Q3 in 2023. That is true. Like Q3 2023 was good and slightly below the domestic box office of Q2, but we can't look at AMC just on a 1 quarter basis, my friend. You got to look at it on annualized basis, and Q1 and Q4 being low is going to make the year a loss. Now, if every quarter, if all 4 quarters are at 2.6, 2.7 billion in domestic box office, then you're at a 10.5 billion, 11 billion box office, and then we're good. If every quarter looked like Q2 and Q3, there'd be no problem here.
Yeah, I've kind of like I've annualized Q3 year to date, and I see AMC break even at, like I said, somewhere between about 10.3 to 10.6.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. Yep.
Yeah. Which again is that's about 981 million tickets sold. So that's like still 20% below pre-pandemic.
And it's normal for business to have seasonality. So not every quarter is going to be, it's not going to be flat 2.6 billion every quarter. But if we could just bump up those Q1 and Q4 numbers, and in Q2 and Q3 go even higher than they were this year, if that happens in 2025, then the company's good. I don't think that we're going to see 2.6, 2.6, 2.6. We're not going to see that every quarter. It's going to be some variation, but at the end of the year, you got to be over 10.5 billion domestic box office.
Yeah, even if you go back to 2017 to 2019, like your summer quarters, your Q2 and your Q3, you would see 2.8, 2.9, $3 billion domestic box offices, and AMC makes a lot of money there. But your Q1's typically slow. Your Q1's usually always your worst quarter of the year.
Yep. All right. What other questions you guys got? My wife's going to be home from work here in a few minutes, so we're going to be wrapping it up when she gets home.
Hey, I'm curious, Mike, since you've been looking at AMC and Cinemark and some of these, I know I haven't been paying attention to it since I followed their bankruptcy, but have you ever looked at NCMI?
No, I don't know much about that. That's like I said, I'm not a big day trader or swing trader. I typically I've always followed like a couch potato strategy using total market ETFs, and obviously during COVID I got into AMC for the squeeze.
Gotcha.
I took some money out when it was high, but I left a lot in because I have a very high risk tolerance though. I make up pretty good.
No, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Corax, I think you're more of an expert on NCMI than any of us are. So give us your rundown real quick. They're the advertiser.
Yeah, they're
that all
ones
the
that do
theaters use. Give us your elevator speech.
My elevator speech, well, right now wouldn't be like if AMC's starting to turn around, it's going to be like kind of a knock-on effect place. So if you see these theater companies start to performing and well, my big concern in 2024 is if there is this recession, advertisers like them are going to get hit. But on that upswing, if AMC's doing well, if Cinemark's doing well in 2025, maybe you do the same thing as you do with AMC. You wait for that dip moment when things have bottomed out and the economy starts rolling back the other direction. You got AMC, Cinemark, and everyone performing well. And then you can ride this advertiser back up.
Have you looked at what's the ticker for NCMI? It's a publicly traded company, right?
Yeah.
Is it NCMI?
I'm pretty sure it is, but let me double check.
I know what they are, and I know that there was a court case recently with them, right?
Yeah, they just came out of Chapter 11.
Okay.
They basically diluted out a bit. They had a restructured deal with, I believe, Cineworld Regal, and so they didn't have to dilute as much as they had to.
You could have bought it for $1 in March, and it's at $4 now.
Yep.
Wasn't there some sort of lawsuit with NCMI after Cineworld came out of bankruptcy? They got something that the other exhibitors didn't, so they were trying to
Yeah, AMC tried
reallocate.
to appeal the bankruptcy because they had done some contract things. There was some litigation in the bankruptcy court, but in the end, their bankruptcy plan was appealed, and all those they were either withdrawn. I haven't heard anything on the AMC appeal, so I'm assuming it died. So they came out of bankruptcy already, to my understanding.
All right, I'm going to read Steven's comment because I know he keeps very close tabs on box office projections, and I'm gonna talk about mine tomorrow on my video. But he's saying AMC may not hit 11 billion until 2027. I saw some industry analysts saying 2026. But going on in his comment, he says, but by 2025 box office, we at least hit the 10 billion. We need 2026 debt to move to 2029, ideally. I probably agree with you there, Stephen. 10 billion in 2025 is quite possible. And I'll throw up some slides from AMC and, if I can, some industry analysts talking about those couple years out. But as we all know, or maybe you don't know, it gets really fuzzy the further you go out trying to make firm predictions on box office, because all you can do is look at projects that are in the works, but you don't know about the ones that you don't know about, and you don't know if everything is going to come in on schedule.
Yeah, 2025 is kind of a unique one because the strike pushed so many known projects out from 2024 that I think they have some pretty good estimates for the next 2 years now.
Man, yeah, that would be awesome if 2025 is just front loaded with a bunch of good shit. I can wait a year. I'm a very patient person, Mike.
Yeah, I think 2025 is significantly higher than 10 billion based on kind of some of the analysis I've seen from stock retail there. Like I said, he's been pretty bang on with the box office numbers.
The people that I see that are having the most problem with all of this have they don't have the patience or the ability to look at any sort of projections to understand what is going on in the industry and how AMC plays its part in that, and that it might take until 2025 for the recovery to start for a company this size.
Yeah, the kind of one thing that I found going through operation sheets for theaters is well, number one, that they've kind of been predicting the box office for a long time, so they're pretty good at getting it right within 5 to 7% outside of some major events happening. And number two, a theater company like Cinemark or like AMC, they're so box office dependent on earnings that the predictions are like they're much easier to make than like an Apple. Like you don't know how many iPhones are going to get sold in the next 3 months, but the gross and net margins for AMC based on box office projections are relatively simple to calculate.
And I know from going through the court documents and the board meeting minutes that the AMC is very good at doing 2-year forecasts, but they also rely on a lot of the same data that we are looking at, industry analysts. So I think it is completely relevant to make sure you're paying attention to people in the movie industry and what they're predicting for the box office. Like you said, Mike, they're sometimes wrong, but they're mostly right. They might not get a particular movie right, and they might overestimate one and underestimate one. But in general, like most analysts were projecting around 9 billion for this year, and we came in at 8.9. That's pretty dead on.
Well, there's that one guy I follow, that Gower Street Analytics, and they do a box office projection every year, and they actually predicted 9.2, which is where we would have been if there wasn't a writer's strike, with Dune and Ghostbusters and Craven. That's probably about $500 million. That's right where we would have been. So they're pretty good at kind of getting at least a year or two in advance of what the domestic's going to look like.
So I will commit to staying unemotional in this play, using data, using industry analysts' projections for box office, and making my forecast based on that. And then if there's upside, that's great. We get a bonus. And if we just meet analyst expectations, then if it's not exactly what we wanted, at least we know what to expect. That's kind of where I'm at for 2024.
Yeah, for anyone listening to one really good industry projection site, if you want to look at kind of where they're projecting the box office and tickets sold, is thenumbers.com. So they have they tend to have pretty good data.
Yeah, I like that site, thenumbers.com.
Yeah, and they present ranges. They provide kind of like ticket prices for box office tickets sold. That's been really useful in my research using that one.
Bad Ape wants to know, could AMC's plan be to cut bloat so that they're not dependent on 11 billion? Absolutely. I think that they're going to continue to cut underperforming theaters as leases come up. And we might not need to rely on 11 billion. Absolutely. What do you think, Mike?
Well, yeah, you know, in 2019, you had 11.3 billion box office, and AMC lost $100 million. In 2023, if you take out Q2 and Q3 and you analyze them, they made profits on a domestic box office of 700 million less. So, you know, there's definitely efficiency happening that have been happening the last 4 years. You know, people like to make fun of retail popcorn or wine or beer. Like, I don't think that's game changing, but I think, you know, maybe that changes it from 10.3 billion to 10.2 or 10.1 billion. It makes them less and less dependent on having this massive box office.
Yeah, I'm very conservative on wine, beer, popcorn, merch, all of that. Everything helps, but I don't have any pie in the sky expectations, but they do help, right? I mean, that might bridge the gap from needing 11 billion a box office to needing 10.5 billion. When you factor out all the costs involved from that box office, when you're adding in these smaller revenue streams, even though they're smaller, every extra few million helps. And they're reducing the debt, right, Mike?
Yeah, 100%. You know, they're paying over 90 million in interest payments every quarter.
As they reduce the debt, if I recall correctly from the slide deck, and again, I'll put this in tomorrow's video, a 400 million reduction in debt, which they have achieved over about 3 or 4 years, is $200 extra million in spared interest.
Yeah, that's
straight to the bottom line.
Like, you know, that's that 10% pick toggle. They're paying $10 million of interest on every 100 million, so 40 million a year, right? So that's definitely awesome. And the real kind of wild card, I think, which could make AMC wildly more profitable than we think, I think, is the distribution. So if they're just going to do, you know, a few concert films a year or a quarter to kind of pad out the balance sheet, like, that's going to be helpful. But if they start getting into distributing, like, you know, there's that Francis Ford Coppola movie that he funded himself. You know, if they're going to start distributing, you know, $200 or $300 million movies, you know, that could be significantly profitable for them.
That's the biggest wild card that could blow the bears out of the water, the whole movie distribution. Like, I don't even know how to forecast for that, so I'm not going to. But if they really lean into that, it is potentially a game changer.
Yeah, like in the meantime for forecasting, I kind of like, you know, he's talked about the phones are ringing off the hook. They're looking at people. So I'm assuming, okay, maybe there's going to be 6 to 8 concert/comedy movies that will make 30 to 50 million, and they'll get an extra percentage from distribution. So pretty minor overall, you know, maybe about 50 to 70 million on the bottom line. They might make extra off of it. But if it, you know, if it turns into like independent filmmakers are coming to them and they're, you know, they're getting a nice 10-15% production or 10-15% distribution fee from that, like that could be big money over time, real big money. But that's speculation though. I don't know how to predict that too well either.
Now, Mike, I've gone on the record many times letting folks know that nobody pays me for my opinions. I'm far too unpopular, Mike, to be paid. Can you let us know if anybody's paying you for your DD or your social media presence?
No, it is kind of embarrassing, but I do this with my free time because
You could be just as embarrassed as I am. I don't even get YouTube revenue.
I like spreadsheets and I enjoy arguing with people on Twitter, as my kids say.
Yeah, I use the same excuse. I'm just a nerd who likes debunking bad DD. And I enjoy movies and I'm invested in the company. So I
am self-interested. I'm obviously long on AMC, but as much as I'm long AMC, I try to present balanced numbers. I'm using numbers that I've kind of figured out from the 10 Qs. I try to be careful, not to let my bias affect it. But math is math and spreadsheets are spreadsheets. If I saw something here that said AMC is not going to be profitable until a $13 billion domestic box office, I would not be in the play. So.
Don Tren wants to know your Twitter again, Mike. Your Twitter account?
Oh, it's Mike VOGR. So
at Mike VOGR, Victor Oscar Golf Romeo.
That's the one, yeah.
And Corax is on Twitter at Sunny Corax, and on YouTube as A Noisy Corax. Just be prepared. Sorry, Corax. I always like to give a disclaimer. He's not a big. I would say he's not a big. What's the right way to say it? It's not that you hate AMC. You hate.
I hate pumpers. I hate the people who.
That's fair.
I hate the people who basically are out there being self-interested, giving misinformation, and I got no time. The name is self-descriptive. I'm obnoxious and disliked. Did you know that?
So I have Corax on from time to time, not because he owns AMC, Marantz rants, but because he helps keep everybody honest, including you, my GameStop friend. And one day, Corax, I look forward to that debate between you and Marantz.
He'd have to learn how to do it first.
He'd have to promise not to devolve into nothing but ad hominem attacks. I love how he calls everybody a kid. This kid never worked an honest day in his life. How does he know that about you, Corax? Have you ever worked an honest day in your life?
I've worked an honest day every day of my life.
This kid with a small channel never worked an honest day in his life. Ad hominem, ad hominem.
And then I'll get bigger than him and he'll say I'm buying subs.
Yeah. I can't wait till he gets over 10,000 subs and then he realizes that what's that website he uses to track our subs? Social Blade?
Yeah, Social Blade.
Once you get over 10,000 subs, Social Blade only updates every 100 subs.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't understand that because he's not over 10,000 subs. Look at this. Tony went up 100 subs, 200 subs, because Social Blade only updates by the 100 once you're over 10,000, dipshit.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a YouTuber myself. Well, you're going to find out, my friend, once you're over 10,000, how it works. And you're going to be embarrassed, but you won't apologize. You won't apologize to anybody who you accused of paying for subs. But you're gonna get your day. Trust me. I have faith in you, Marantz. You will one day get over 10,000.
I have faith that you will remain a dishonest participant in it.
No, I have faith that one day he'll slowly creep up over 10,000. Maybe check with your brother on tips for doing that.
Let us know when you get out of his shadow, and you'll be able to figure out what that's like.
All right. Leo says, Leo is my leader. Leo is his own leader. I like it.
Way to live.
Anya says, some of us are holding on to a shitload of AMC. What else could we invest in? Anya, thank you for the reminder of what I always like to say. Guys, speculative plays, companies, any company that is losing money is a speculative play. I think we can all agree on that, and that's not negging on any company. Your best bet is to look for companies that have a long history of increasing top-line revenue and increasing profits, and there are a lot of them out there. I personally like to find ones that are beaten down in the moment for whatever bad news reason. Like some of the good plays we had at the end of last year were things like CVS, Target,
Didn't you do pretty well with Disney or something like that?
Disney. Yeah, my Disney's up. I haven't sold Disney yet. But there's all sorts of beaten down blue chip companies that have a long history of growing revenues and growing profits, and they're experiencing a momentary problem. And then you got to ask yourself, can they fix that problem in a timeline that I'm okay with, whether that's 6 months or 5 years? I'm usually looking at 5 years. So those are the companies I'd be recommending. And I will be talking about the ones that I find in 2024 as I've rotated out of most of mine. Like the last 4 months of 2023, I took out 20 to 30% profits on the majority of those that I bought in August. So I have money. I'm looking for my 2024 plays. So we'll talk about more of those on this channel. We'll talk about, like I said, mining stocks. We'll be talking about crypto. We'll be talking about the wheel strategy. If you're stuck holding something, how to generate income and lower your cost basis per share by selling covered calls and selling cash secured puts. Something that I was very against for personally on AMC over the last 2 years, regretfully, because I left a lot of money on the table. But I am employing that strategy on AMC just like I do on other tickers. So you can go look up YouTube videos on the wheel strategy. But if you want to hear my investing for dummies version of it, I'll have a wheel strategy or 2 video out in January for you.
Yeah, and with the news from the minutes of the last Fed meeting came out, said that that spooked the bond market a little bit. It might be a good time to get a little bit of bond exposure while the rates popped up and the face value dipped down. I'm up 7% on my 30 years. Maybe take a little exposure on either the short end or the long end. And
see, maybe we need to have you on and talk about bonds, Corax, because I will tell you straight up, and this is not a secret. In 30 years of doing this, I've never really been a bond investor other than
I never have really been until this point either.
There was a time in my younger years where I had a portion of my 401k and some bond fund. And then I realized it wasn't generating me any meaningful income. And I enjoy the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
The growth plays. And so I've just never been a bond trader. But
the only reason I'm big on it right now is in the anticipation that there seems to be that rate cuts, whether you think either the unlikely version of you think that inflation's coming down, therefore the Fed's going to cut rates because, you don't need rates up so high if, inflation's cooled off, or the more likely thing that, things are starting to break. I mean, we had some bank failures earlier this year, and so they're going to have to cut rates as we go into a deflation, recession, to be determined how painful that is. But you'll see appreciation on the face value of those bonds as interest rates retreat.
Well, maybe we need to do a live stream one night with you, me, and May, and just have a bond discussion. I'll ask the idiot.
I'm sure
questions.
she'll make me look a little stupid because
I'll be the stupidest person in the group. Now I know how bonds work. I just don't have experience trading them. So you're already ahead of me, and she's way ahead of both of us.
Yeah.
But I am getting older. You see the gray here?
And they say when you start getting gray, that's when you start buying bonds.
Right. That's where I'm going with that. At some point, apparently I'm supposed to become a bond trader to protect my capital. So I probably should learn. It's never too late to teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike, do you have any closing thoughts or?
I think he disappeared.
Mike, are you still here?
There he is.
Yeah, sorry, my phone died.
I noticed that you had dropped off. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share with the group?
Not really. Like I said, I try to stay away from the tinfoil stuff. I think I think there might be some manipulation, but that's just kind of like a bonus for me if there's some big squeeze or big move on AMC. But I think fundamentally, it's just really undervalued compared to where it should be priced. That's my personal opinion. I'm kind of trading based on that, and everyone's got to make their own choices about it, right?
I agree with you. I think at this price, it's undervalued. Obviously, none of us know what's going to happen with the price. We're not, we can't predict the future. I certainly hope it doesn't go down anymore. But I like I said, I was buying last week, and I hope we're right, Mike. We'll find out all together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Last
we will.
time I checked.
And thanks for having me on. I've been watching you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You're welcome on anytime. And thank you for the
if you ever want to pop on my side. I know you do live streams as much as Tony, but if you ever get the itch.
I appreciate you, Mike. I appreciate your adult financial analysis way of looking at the play. That's what I can say. We need more people like you and me, and even Corax. I know he's not an AMC finance expert, but he knows how a balance sheet works. Is that fair, Corax?
Yeah.
And just as another comment, everyone be a little bit more kind on Twitter. People are just so short-tempered and so rude to each other. Even if someone makes a mistake with something, give people a break. Let's all be nice to each other.
I would love to see 2024, everybody take the Morantz challenge where he vowed he was going to be a better person. Let's all model Morantz and be a better person in 2024. Wait, what, Corax? He already broke his vow? Sorry, he's whispering into my ear.
We're officially resetting the timer. We are back at 0 days since Morantz has turned off and over a new leaf.
I just joshing with you guys, but yeah, I would love to see everybody treat each other like human beings. Like there's way too much emotion, way too much name calling. And Corax, I see you and your buddies doing that too. I'm going to challenge everybody to help everyone get better. Let's focus on the education. Let's focus on the DD and less personal attacks. Sometimes people are paid shills. Sometimes they're paid trolls. There's a difference between a shill and a troll. Shill is paid to pump. A troll is paid to neg.
A troll like me is not paid in any other form other than.
And then there's just some people that look at balance sheets and don't like your DD, but that doesn't mean you got to be an ass to them, or vice versa. Corax. Mm-hmm. There's also a lot of misguided people that just started trading 2 years ago, and the first thing they heard they were going to be rich overnight, they unfortunately believed it, and we can't shake them of that. But we can be nicer to them. So that is my goal for myself. You guys are not going to like half of what I say ever in the past 2 years and in the next 2 years. But I promise to be unemotional and just give you the facts as I know them. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. If you move into the personal attack thing with me, it's an insta block, and I don't care. That's just how I roll. I'm not into the whole drama thing. I'm not here for that.
Well, I look forward to seeing your Q4 numbers here, Tony, and we'll compare notes, and I'll argue with you if I think you're wrong.
Can you say that one more time, a little slower, because it sounds like your mic is a little tinny.
Oh, I was just saying, I look forward to seeing your Q4 numbers, and we'll compare notes, and I'll be happy to argue with you.
I'm always up for a debate or a discussion as long as it is adult. And you told me your numbers and stock retail numbers. I can tell you that I'm in the ballpark with you guys, but I got a secret ingredient that I'm going to add to the sauce that you might like.
Uh-oh. Adding some oregano?
With oregano, yes. Now,
I do like the sauce.
Yeah, I got some special sauce coming up for you for Q4, and it is a little bit of tinfoil, and I don't know if I'll be right, but that's, part of doing these earnings estimates is putting yourself out there to be criticized if you're wrong. That's fine. I'm doing my best DD to guess if I can be right. And it's a personal challenge for myself. and I refine the model every quarter. And I've mostly generally been right. And it's fun for me to make these guesses and see how close we can get. So I'll give you a special sauce manana.
Okay, if you're gonna say
Yeah, if you think about it though, Tony, too, I've brought it up before. In Q3, I seem to remember your number was about negative 30 million. I think my number was about negative 1 million, and stock retail was about 20 million. So we were all right on the number, and we were way closer than these Wall Street professionals.
Absolutely.
I find that quite funny.
If you're going to be talking about secret sauce, though, Tony, you have to open the video with welcome to the Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Man, take your order.
Moisty Talent says, any thoughts on the Mike Roach situation? That name does not ring a bell. Anybody? Can y'all help me out? Anybody know Mike Roach?
I'm not aware of anything about that.
I think you just got trolled,
All right.
Tony.
Well, was I supposed to say my crotch? Sorry. I went with Mike Roach. I went with the German pronunciation.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Mr. Moisty Talet's about to get permanently banned from the channel, but I'll give you, because it's a Saturday night, I'll give you a buy on that one, my friend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my wife just got home from work and buying the rabbits their kale and romaine. So I'm going to sign off for tonight. Join us tomorrow night. Markets with May and myself will be answering your questions live about whatever you want to know about AMC's debt. What's going on with these debt for equity swaps? What's going to happen with the debt restructuring? Can they do it? And find me on Twitter or leave a comment in tonight's video with any questions you have specific to AMC debt. And we'll be happy to try and answer those tomorrow night. Thank you, gentlemen, Mike and Corax, for spending your evening with us on this Saturday. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We love you. We want the best we want the best for you to make smart trades, for you to make a good entry and a good exit, and have more winners than losers. So stay tuned to the channel. A lot more to come in 2024. Check out Mike on Twitter and Corax on Twitter and YouTube. And we will see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Cheers.